We have a very vibrant publication division, but the book that is in the greatest demand is Dr. Adhikari's book on, the Sadharanikaran model that he has written. Towards establishing these concepts is to come up with standard textbooks, reference books, and of course a lot of research papers and citations in journals across the world.
We now have remarks by Professor Dr. K.G. Suresh, Vice Chancellor, Makhanlal, Chaturvedi, National University of Journalism and Mass Communication, Bhopal, India. He is joining us online.
Professor Suresh is the Vice Chancellor of Makhanlal, Chaturvedi, National University of Journalism and Communication, Bhopal, Asia's first and India's oldest and largest media university. Previously, he served as a Director General at the Indian Institute of Mass Communication and Senior Consulting Editor at Doordarshan News, Founding Dean at the School of Modern Media, University of Petroleum Energy Studies, Dehradun, Editorial Consultant with the AsiaNet News Network and Chief Political Correspondent at Press Trust of India. Professor Dr. Suresh, during his tenure as IMC Director, he did the press conference and announced to introduce a course based on Dr. Adhikari's work. So his contribution to Sadharanikaran model of communication, publicity and also recognition has been very significant. So over to you, sir. Now you can start.
Namaskar and very good morning, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the prestigious Kathmandu University, Honorable Chief Guest from the South Asia University, all the esteemed panelists on the dais, including what we call in Bharat as the Utsav Murti, the icon of today's event, my friend Dr. Nirmal Mani Adhikari, and of course a lot of friends I see both on the dais and off the dais, including Dr. Shuchi Yadav, I see Dr. Kashikar, I see Chandrabanu Patnaik ji. Because of this online thing, I am not able to see all of them, but I see so many of my friends there and international delegates from the world over who have joined this very prestigious event. I am just a few mountains away from you. I am in Uttarakhand. I am traveling on an official work. I wish, in fact, this is one of the conferences I really missed. I would have loved to be there to personally greet Dr. Adhikari for this tremendous achievement, which is a matter of pride for not only South Asia but Asia and the world. So greetings from the land of Mahakal to the land of Pashupatinath. Greetings from Asia's first and largest media university, the Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism and Communication, Bhopal. We have had a very, very close association, as has been mentioned in Dr. Adhikari's introduction also. In fact, we had the privilege of publishing Dr. Adhikari's book for the first time, and perhaps I have no hesitation in accepting that we have a very vibrant publication division, but the book that is in the greatest demand is Dr. Adhikari's book on, the Sadharanikaran model that he has written, and it's a matter of pride. I am really, feeling so good being associated with this for such a long time. In fact, Dr. J.S. Yadava, who proposed this concept at the beginning in the 80s, was my predecessor at the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, where subsequently I became the Director General. And I have had the honor of introducing the Sadharanikaran model as part of the curriculum for all the courses at the Indian Institute of Mass Communication. At Makhanlal, as I said, the university has been involved with this project closely with Dr. Adhikari, and we have of course been teaching. And at the university, we have been working on this the traditional, the indigenous forms of communication for a long time. In fact, we have established recently, last year only, the Bharat Muni Shodhpeeth, and we have recently set up in our Nalanda Central Library, we have set up the Devrishi Narad Bharatiya Dhyan Khanda. And this is a coincidence. I don't know whether Dr. Adhikari planned it this way, but we are just celebrating this 2 decades so immediately after the whole world, I would say, has celebrated Narada Jayanti. Narada, whom we in Bharat and Nepal look at to as the first communicator, the Adi Sancharak. And we have had a long history, long tradition of communication in our subcontinent. For centuries, through the Shruti and Smriti forms of communication, we have been passing on the immense knowledge of Ramayana, of Mahabharata to our children, generation after generation. We have been, passing in. Till, of course, the time it got documented. And the world over, you see that the impact of those epics, which has left its deep impact, not just Ramayana and Mahabharata, but the Panchatantra, the Jatakas, across the world, in China, in Southeast Asia, wherever I have travelled. I was few months back in Thailand, in Ayutthaya, which has been named after Ayodhya. We have seen the deep impact of the South Asian cultural values, which has influenced not through aggression, not through conquest, but through its soft power. When we talk about Sadharanikaran, I don't look at it, frankly speaking, as something which has been conceptualized or is being presented as in competition or in rivalry to the Western models. No. I won't even call it, I would rather go a step beyond that of calling it decolonizing, as some of the esteemed speakers have referred to. I would say humanizing the mind. Because we have been only talking about the Eurocentric concepts. And this is giving a human, whatever initiatives, whatever thought processes have been part of the human consciousness across the world and across civilizations. My friend Kalinga Sanivaratne has conceptualized the Buddhist model of communication, which is very interesting. So this entire focus on indigenization, on looking at the South Asian and not only Asian, African, Latin American, should not be seen as vis-a-vis. It should be seen as supplementing to the existing knowledge, adding to the existing body of work, and enlarging the horizons of human knowledge, which has perhaps never been placed before the entire humanity. And to that extent, Dr. Nirmalmani Adhikari has to be praised for his immense contribution to highlighting a very important aspect of the South Asian civilization. In India, in 2020, we came up with a very ambitious national education policy. after 34 years. The earlier one was referred to as new education policy. This is the national education policy. And this emphasized on a couple of things apart from all the elements of incorporating how to modernize education and make it, of global standards. The focus has been on mother tongue, the importance of mother tongue, particularly in primary, at the primary level, to promote original thinking and also indigenous knowledge, which we refer to as Bharatiya Gyan Parampara or the Bharatiya knowledge systems or the Indian knowledge systems, IKS. There is a division in the education ministry which is looking at IKS. And there are conferences which are happening all over the. There is immense wealth of knowledge which is there. But unfortunately, what has not taken place is a concerted effort to not only research them further, but also to document them. What is lacking? Because a lot has been said about Sadharanikaran, so I need not dwell at length on that, because the whole day is going to be spent on discussing that. But I want to highlight some of the challenges, because I have only 5 more minutes. So I would like to say that we need to take it further. I personally believe that there is a need to go beyond, because in every dissertation, in every PhD dissertation, in every thesis, you have something called, the limitations of a study. You have something called the scope of further study. I think that we should now, in the next stage, and of course under the leadership of Dr. Nirmal Mani Adhikari himself, encourage scholars from the world over to fine-tune whatever has been done so far, to take it further, to expand on it, and to ensure that there is a very strong body of work to substantiate what has been done so far. Because theories, the Western theories, have been able to establish themselves globally because of the huge number of reference books which are available, the textbooks which are available, and the plethora of study that has happened on each of these concepts, each of these models of communication across the world. What we lack is the text, the reference books, and that is where I think we should be focusing on. I am happy to share with all of you that at our university we have undertaken studies on the communication elements in Panchatantra, the communication elements in Jataka, the communication elements in Kalidasa, and a host of other texts which are available. As we are going to declare our PhD seats very soon, we plan to dedicate a few seats only for research in what is, as per our NEP, the Bharatiya Gyan Parampara or the Indian knowledge system. That's what we are planning to do. Because now the next step towards establishing these concepts is to come up with standard textbooks, reference books, and of course a lot of research papers and citations in journals across the world. There has to be a concerted effort. Only then and I am so glad, Dr. Adhikari, that's why I said I am missing this conference. I wish I could be there, where there are so many scholars who have applied their mind, who have studied in depth the Sadharanikaran model, and have come up with really brilliant ideas. There is a lot of scope for give and take. And I'm really happy that this Manthan, is happening in Kathmandu, where there's a lot of exchange of ideas on how we can take it further. We have had a very rich communication tradition, as I mentioned about Dev Rishi Narad, taking it further, whether it is the Bhagavad Gita, whether it is the Prashnottari, Adi Shankaracharya, whether it is the dialogues, the conversations between, Yama and Nachiketa, between Yudhishthir, between Krishna and Arjuna, between Adi Shankara and the Mandana Mishra. There are so many, dialogues. There are many conversations which have happened over the centuries which need to be studied afresh from the current perspectives, so that we enrich this current model, which is currently based out of two texts by Bharat Muni and Bhartruhari primarily. I am sure that there are similar elements in a lot many other texts which need to be studied, codified, documented and published. I am sure that, confident that basically I came because I felt that I should not miss out, at least online, this very important event. And I can assure you, Dr. Adhikari, that very soon under our Bharat Muni Shodhpeeth, we will be having a conference in the beautiful lake city of Bhopal, where it would be our pleasure to invite you and other eminent scholars to discuss in depth this very model and of course the communication traditions we have had. We have this historic responsibility on our shoulders to take this further and to ensure that this is studied, analyzed. I am sure while the credit goes to Dr. Nirmal Mani Adhikari for bringing it to this stage, I am sure that international scholars will take it further and this would become a globally accepted model in the coming days, which would fill us with immense pride in the coming days. On that note, I wish to thank the organizers for inviting me for this very important conference, and once again I would like to congratulate Dr. Nirmal Mani Adhikari for the historic initiative that he undertook. His name would always be remembered in the annals of promoting indigenous knowledge across the world. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Professor K.G. Suresh.